We are now in 1863. All right, so we've survived to this point. We've been able to hold the Rappahannock. Now, granted, for how long, who the hell knows. He's got an 8,000 power force. Quite intimidating. I can see 4 divisions and then 2 corps. So I would imagine he's not going to wait too much longer. He's probably waiting for the weather to be clear to push across. So he may even attack me this turn. Who knows? I'm guessing he's probably going to attack Longstreet because Longstreet only has 3 divisions. Because then what's going to force me to do is... Well, I don't know. He might have to just go straight after Jackson. I got 4 divisions here. I was thinking about this. If he attacked Longstreet, Jackson could come in his rear and cut off his supply. So I don't know if that's something he's going to do. We got a bunch of new generals this turn, none of which are really any good. We did get this guy here, Ransom. He's a 411, but he's got the cavalry trait. So I'm putting him in with, I think, Longstreet. Because Jackson has Forrest, who already has the cavalry stat. This guy's 312, so 2 defense. So I'm going to send him down to New Orleans to act as that 2nd division with what I have down there. Got McCulloch, who's got a 5 strategic rating, so he's going to be a cavalry commander. I'm going to put him in charge of one of my cavalry units here, kind of guarding my rail line. So it's going to be 2 cavalry, artillery, and then him. Maybe I'll put another cavalry in there at some point, perhaps. But he's going to be basically guarding my rail line. Because he only has 1 attack and 1 defense, so I don't necessarily see any other use for him. I'm going to... Basically what I decided to do is I did not realize that redoubts cannot be built on pre-existing forts. So I can't build it in New Orleans like I wanted to. So what I'm doing... I know I'm bouncing around on you a little bit. I apologize. I'm going to take what I was going to build the fort with here in Nashville this turn, send that back down to New Orleans. I'm going to use the redoubt card and build it here in Nashville. And it takes, 6 turns, I think? Yeah. And then I'm going to take my other 4 artillery and a supply wagon and put it in Atlanta and just build that now. The reason I'm doing that is I hope, right, that I can hold out to the point where he needs to take Atlanta to win the game. So I might as well just build one now because that's going to be of paramount value at some point in this game. And since I have the resources to do it now, I might as well. I've always been a little leery of putting one in Norfolk, mainly because, at least in this game at least, he's got so much up here that I can't peel anything else off than I already have down here. So it wouldn't take him too much to take Norfolk. You know, probably core with like 3 divisions. He could take Norfolk and kind of start moving up this way. So I hate to dedicate all of this to building a fort here and then losing it. So I'm going to just put that somewhere else where I know I'm going to be able to hold on to it for at least a little bit. AP Hill, still kind of working on rounding out this division here under Stewart. I need like, let's see, I think 2 more elements to fill him out. I am sending 2 elements from the west over. It's hard to find 2 element units for the south. Mostly it's 3 or higher or 1. But I do have a 2, so I'm sending him over. And then this, Pickett was kind of my, I guess you'd say my reserve, so to speak. He's just going to kind of fill out my front corps here as they kind of get beat down. My idea here is to kind of act like the Russian front in World War II. Or you know, when Napoleon invaded Russia, where I'm just kind of slowly fall back, suffering casualties in the process. But my hope is he'll obviously be suffering casualties in return. His supply lines will be getting extended, and I'll be able to reinforce from Richmond. And I'm hoping between my entrenchment bonuses, the defenses behind rivers, and then him having to kind of fight for every little inch, that I have just enough behind my lines here to reinforce my corps and hopefully hold on, but we'll see. He's got a lot of stuff here. I mean, I'm not being, I think, I'm not being irrational here and kind of looking at what my odds are in terms of an initial offensive by him. Although I think a prolonged offensive with me being able to use the rivers and so forth should hopefully stagnate any sort of attack and allow me to hold out through into 64. Okay, so he did not attack this turn. He's actually entrenching here. And it looks like he has 4 divisions, but then he's also got this extra corps here, which it's hard for me to tell whether that's a second corps. I think it is. So it looks like he's got basically Buell running one half of his army, and then the other half is run by Foster, which is fine because now we have fully rounded out divisions here, and then so we have 3 there, and we got 2 in the back. So if he attacks me, I don't know if he's fully aware of what's back here. I think he is because he had his navy here. But if he attacks Beauregard, at a minimum, we'll do some significant damage before we fall back to Bowling Green. So I'm good with that. We've got Morgan. He's going to be basically our Stewart of the West. I mean, Jeb Stewart. And we have some more cavalry coming over, so he's going to be almost an entire division over here of cavalry. And then our deep raider. I still haven't decided what to do with him. I have an artillery piece in here right now that obviously slows down this partisan and makes him more detectable. So I don't know if I'm just going to go with partisans and raiders and take the artillery out of there. But as you've seen, the problem with that is we don't have any artillery. It makes it very hard to take these depots and burn them. So I haven't quite decided what to do with that yet. Taylor's force, he's got a full division. We got lots of training to do here. We got 2 line infantry and a light infantry. I'm sending that down to New Orleans. I'm sending these guys over to Fort Donelson. They're also 2 line infantry and a light infantry. And then I decided to took him out of Henry and put him over in Fort Donelson as well. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make Donelson a full division here. And then I'm also taking one of our new brigadier generals and bringing him over, so we have 2 generals over here, so we don't have any command penalty. I'm taking one of the divisions here under Maury, and I'm moving him over to Memphis. So all Van Dorn has is 1 division over here now. Again, with the ultimate goal of just basically burning this and pulling back to Little Rock. And then what I'll try and do is like what I'm doing with New Orleans, where I'll have 2 divisions and 4 generals, so that I don't have any command penalty. And I'll probably replace him too. I don't know, haven't decided. Speaking of which, I'll probably take one of my generals and send him over there now. By the way, this redeploy command is great. Use it whenever you can. Alright, New Orleans, we got a division and a half basically. So he'll be rounded out next turn. And then I'll have to start filling him out. I have Whiting here. I forgot last turn why I had Whiting here. So when you have 1 stars across the board in a stack, in order to get the 8 out of 8 command penalty with 2 divisions, you need all 4. Because as soon as I take Whiting out, I got a penalty. So that's why he's in there, to basically ensure that we have 8 out of 8. But I'm bringing the 3-1-2 over, so he's going to replace this guy. And so I'll have a 2 defense and then a 2 defense along with a 2 defense in case he decides to attack New Orleans. Plus I'm building that additional fort to have a level 2 fort here. So if he wants to try and take New Orleans in 63, he's going to lose, I'm hoping he's going to lose a lot of blood doing it. I'm also moving him to Memphis. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with him yet, but at least in Memphis, he can move north, he can move south, he can move east. He'll be in a good position to kind of go in any direction I need him to. So, as you can see, he's got some cavalry and then the Native Americans. We're going to put him there. And I haven't talked too much to it, but I mean, I know you see a lot of cards on the map here. Part of it is I'm trying to entrench in areas that I could anticipate defending at. So over in Tennessee, I have these guys behind this river here, and even though this isn't going to be an area of contention necessarily soon, it's nice to have these areas entrenched, because if I lose Nashville, that's my next defensive position, is behind this river. And then my third defensive position is behind this river down here. So I wouldn't say you necessarily need to do this early like I have, but I would definitely say do it early enough to where when you fall back to these positions, you're about as entrenched as you can be in these spots. Now, I would say, because I don't have artillery here, that's as far as they're going to get entrenched. They're only going to get entrenchment 4. They're going to get 5. I don't know if they can get 6, but they can get 5 if I had artillery here. So just something to be mindful of. So like I mentioned, I'm using the readout card here. I'm using the telegraph line card down in Mobile. And then I am attacking him in the far west. So he moved up with what appears to be a division, but he didn't attack me with much, so that's what he's got there. He's got 3 infantry guys and 2 artillery, 2 6-pounders. Well, 6-pound and 12-pound. But a total of 2,600 troops and 22 artillery. Well, I have more than that. I have double that in infantry, and then I have also artillery attached to this. 12-pound and 2 light. So I'm going to attack him. If he wants to dangle himself out there like that, power to him, bro. I'm about to just schwack you. My hope is I can get that supply wagon. We'll see, but that's my real goal, is get that supply wagon. But I'm going red. Let's go schwack him. I don't think he's going to bring this guy forward. What he's trying to do is get military control so that come the spring, he can move up perhaps on me down here. But he obviously needs a military control first, since I have most of it. Well, we don't play that, so we're going to go get it back. We'll see what happens. Beyond that, I think that's everything we need to talk to. We did have an event, the PMIS Treaty. I didn't read this. Our governor in Arizona Territory, John Baylor, which is the one we're about to attack with, made a treaty with the Pimas and the Papago Indians, longtime enemies of the Apache, for mutual defense against them. This diplomatic victory is of great import, and the territory is now safe from threat of Indian raids. Furthermore, the governor received orders instructing him to enlist volunteers and to organize regiments until a brigade has been raised for the defense of the Arizona Territory. I don't know what that means. Looks like we got this guy here. So, cool. We're going to move him down there, and we'll get him out of there. So he's going to attack there. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So hopefully we can take that out and go there. He's only got, what does he have there? He's got a militia, colored unit. Okay, so we probably couldn't take them out with this guy, but hopefully we'll win here. I get the Pima out of there, and we can use them as well. All right, really quick here. So building some artillery. These are all 12-pounders, 2 10-pounders, and then a HQ unit. And then the rest of my money is going towards 1 supply wagon and a line infantry. And then what I am doing is we're doing the rail pool, $1 for volunteers. And the reason I'm doing $1 for volunteers, because you'd say, well, you don't have the money to use on volunteers, so why are you doing that? That's because we're raising taxes. I'm willing to burn 2 morale, which we have 23. We'd be on 121. We're doing really well in morale, and it reduces price variation. So that's why I'm doing it. So we get 600,000, and then we get another 600,000 plus -1 price variation. So that'll lower our inflation down to 10% and give us 12,000 bucks. That should carry us through most of 63. Because between that, the conscripts, and then what I want to do is I want to invest even more in my replacement pool here. I think we'll be in good shape until at least the summer, on cash and conscripts and so forth. So that's why I decided to do that. I hate to do anything that hurts national morale, but we are doing pretty well on national morale. And given that it's winter, there's not a lot of battles. I don't have a lot of opportunities to increase national morale in the first place. This is eventually going to normalize down towards the 100 mark anyways, so that's why I decided to use it. So, differing opinions may disagree, but that's kind of why I decided to do it. And with that, let's send this turn over to Josh, run the turn, and I will be back. So what I meant to do last turn, I didn't, so I'll do it this turn, is to go over just a brief overview of the kind of where we're at in terms of victory points, casualties, prisoners of war, that sort of thing. We did offer $1 for enlistments on recruits. We got a bunch of money this turn, which I spent all of it. I actually spent a considerable amount of time on this turn because I feel like what I do this turn is going to greatly impact 63 in general. So now one thing I did, which may be controversial, I don't know, is I went ahead and I built a bunch of armories and arsenals. So 5 armories and 2 arsenals for $225,000 and 50 tons of war supply. That is a lot of money for the Confederacy. Now it's all being built in Georgia. And here's why I'm doing it. Now, a lot of you can be like, it's 63, don't you think it's a little bit late to be doing this? And I would partly agree with you. I probably should have done this in like mid-62, but here's my thinking. Made it to 63, we're still doing decent on the front, right? Now, maybe that might change by the end of 63, but so far we're doing pretty well holding the front. I mean, we've got the Rappahannock over in Kentucky. We still have half of Kentucky. You know, we're just in front of Bowling Green. We have, you know, all of Memphis, Mississippi, as well as, you know, kind of some of the Tennessee River here. Or is it, I think it's the Ohio River. So I feel like we're doing pretty well on the front. We still have New Orleans. And what I'm thinking is, if you look at my supply area here, and just zoom out here, you'll notice a lot of it is over here in the Northeast, North Carolina, Virginia, a little bit in South Carolina. Not a whole lot in the middle, right? I mean, we've got plenty in Alabama, but not a whole lot in Georgia. So what my plan is to build these armories and arsenals in Georgia with 2 reasons, or for 2 purposes. One, obviously to further build up my supply chain, but also it's Georgia. So the likelihood that I'm going to lose Georgia before Virginia, for example, or before Tennessee, or before Mississippi, is far less likely to occur. And so I'm thinking kind of 64. That if a lot of my fronts that I currently have kind of cave in here in 63, I'm thinking, you know, maybe I lose Nashville by the end of 63. I've lost Memphis by the end of 63. You know, maybe he's putting a lot of pressure on Richmond. Maybe Richmond's about to fall. In 64, this investment's going to really pay off because I'm going to have a lot more industry in the deep south that's not only going to provide, you know, supply to my supply depots, but it's also going to provide me a little bit of industry as well. So, you know, it is what it is. Some of you are probably wondering, you know, probably disagree with the decision, which is perfectly fine because I could see why you would. But to put it in perspective, you know, I spent $200,000 to build those, you know, that what was it, 5 and 2, I think. Yeah, 5 and 2. So by the way, so it's 5 armories. It's $5 a turn for the 5 armories, and the 2 arsenals is actually $2 each. So that's $4. So that's $9 a turn, and then I also get supply and ammunition. So I think the armories and the arsenals are both 10 ammunition each. I could be wrong on that, but so it's not too bad of an investment. But if I wanted to build my strongest infantry brigade out there, it's going to cost me $200, right? That's 9 units. So 6-pounder, 12-pounder in cavalry. To put it in perspective, so I'm kind of looking at this like, you know, I could spend on half a brigade, essentially half a, you know, or half a division, what perhaps is going to sustain me through 64. So that's kind of why I decided to do it. That was my thought process, anyways. Let's jump into the overview here just right quick before I go over everything else. So we've taken 19,300 prisoners, and we've lost 48,500. He's lost 62,300. I don't know how many prisoners he's taken, though. It doesn't tell me how many I've lost. But so he has 3,040 victory points. I have 4,023. I'm getting 51 a turn. He's getting 45 a turn. His combat power is 169 over me, which obviously is to be expected. And then as you can see here, the objective list. He doesn't yet have any of mine. He does have East Arizona. But beyond that, I've been able to hold on to all my other objective lists. There you go. Morale's 121. His is probably pretty high, 83. So actually not as high as you expect, but it's only going to take him a couple of major victories to get that morale pretty high up. And I'm kind of, I'd be surprised if the first couple battles don't go his way, just because of the number advantage and him getting some sort of morale boost from that. And then as you can see, the foreign entry level is only -9. I don't know if I've ever seen a game where there's been foreign entry level, or if there is, it doesn't really make a difference because the game's pretty much over at that point anyways. So as you can see, I need 200 morale to win right now, and then defeat I need to be down to 25. However, these numbers drastically change in 64. That's why I'm hoping beyond hope, that we can kind of sustain an effective, successful defense through 63, and then launch our own offensive in 64. Okay, so what's going on here? What did I do with all this money? Well, first I built a couple flatboats and supply wagons. I built a supply wagon in Richmond. I built one here. I'm actually going to turn this one into a supply depot, and I'm going to do it in Charlotte. Part of the reason is that I have all of this supply down in Charleston, and as you can see, you want about no more than 4 regions in between each supply depot. It goes up to Columbia and Camden, and then the next closest one's Lexington. So I'm going to build one in Charlotte just to try and push a little bit more of the supply up to the front, since come the spring, I think there's going to be a lot of action up there. I also built a flatboat here, which I'm going to move up to Granville. And again, same reason. If I can put a 2 supply depot here, I suspect it's going to pull more supply from North Carolina and South Carolina. And then in the event that either Richmond falls or Richmond's really taking the brunt of the resupplying of my front, hopefully Granville can provide some sort of supplement to Petersburg to reinforce Richmond. And then finally, I did build one additional flatboat down here, and with the idea of putting it in Eatonville, since this is shallow water. And again, same idea, kind of building up my supply network in the deep south between the arsenals and armories I'm building in Georgia, along with this additional supply depot. My hope is that I can continue building up the supply base here in Georgia in the event that my fronts start to cave in. So that's the industry front of things. Here's what I'm doing now. This could end up being like the Battle of Chickamauga. For those of you who know, Rosecrans was actually, for the Union, was actually doing pretty well. He was holding off the Confederate attack. He then replaced, he basically swapped out units from the front. He was trying to put fresh units into the front, take units that had been in the front out for recovery. There was a gap in the line. There was basically there was a gap in the line for a short period of time, and it was either because he was reinforcing the front and pulling troops off, or there was miscommunication in terms of commands, so troops were shifting to the left and to the right, whatever it might have been. But there was a gap in the line. Longstreet saw it, and the Confederates hit the Union and split them in 2 and ended up winning that battle. That could very well happen in this turn. What do I mean by that? Well, as you can see, I've put Lee in charge of the stack because I'm moving Jackson and Hood back kind of to the rear, so to speak, of my line here. Because the reality is, he's probably not going to attack me with Barry. He's got 3 divisions here, and they're not connected to McDowell, and he doesn't have any additional forces with McClellan here. So chances are he's not going to attack across the river against this division, against this corps, because he's supported by this additional corps. So I am moving Claiborne to the center, kind of where I think the brunt of the attack is going to be, along with Early, who has a 3 defense. And I'm moving Jackson and Hood back. So Jackson has a 5 defense, so he's obviously not that bad on defense. But Hood is not the best of division commanders, he's only got 1 defense. And Claiborne has a 7 defense, and Early has a 3 defense. So that's why I'm doing it. However, for this turn, I'm pretty vulnerable because this division, or this core back here, is no longer a core. It's just a division under Evans. And Jackson is moving backwards as well, and he's not a core anymore. So if he attacks me, I'm going to be short like 3 or 4 divisions. So I'm going to be in a pretty tough spot. But if I can pull off this swap, then I think it's going to put me in a better position to withstand any sort of attack from Manassas Junction. Additionally, what I'm going to do is I'm bringing a division up from Richmond, and I'm going to put Alexander in charge of that division. That way I'll have 4 divisions up here. I like to try and keep a couple divisions in the rear for reinforcement purposes, but he's got just such a large force here. For one thing, I don't necessarily anticipate any sort of assault on Richmond or my coastal areas just yet. And also, it's really important that if he does push me off these positions, at least initially, I at least put up a pretty good fight and mitigate any sort of morale switch that there might be. So I'm going to put 4 divisions up here. It's going to be Alexander with the 2 defense. I'm also going to swap out Ewell with Stewart. So where's Stewart at? Stewart's got a 3 defense. Where you at, buddy? He's got a 3 defense, so I'm going to put him up there as well. I'm going to take Ewell, put him in with AP Hill. He's got great attack, but he's a terrible defender. So that's the final thing I'm going to do with regards to those shifts. That way I'll have a 3 defense, a 2 defense, and a 2 defense up here. And then I will also have a 3 defense. So 4 divisions here, 4 divisions here, 2 in the back, and then 1 in Richmond. Then I'm going to build up, because as you can see, I'm building a couple sharpshooter brigades. This very massive one, which cost me a lot. It was like $200. And then this one, which is another 5. So that's all the infantry that I'm building this turn. I'm also building some artillery. I'm building some 10-pounders with what I could afford, with the ultimate goal. So here's why I built those infantry units. What I'm trying to do, I don't know if I'm going to get there, but I'm trying to build enough infantry to where I can pull out the artillery from these various divisions to where there may be like 2 artillery per division maybe, but make an all artillery division in 1 if not 2 of my core out here. I don't know if I'm going to get there because it's really expensive. Plus I'm probably going to suffer some significant casualties here coming up. But if I can do that, that's the goal, is to put, Alexander or Early, or rather Hardy, in charge of an artillery division, kind of like the Union does. I think he has one up here. Okay, I know over in Kentucky when he attacked me, he had an all artillery division, but I'm going to try and do the same thing out here if I can. So my hope is building up these different stacks here will allow me to accomplish that. Because, for example, and I'll move on, this is a 9-unit stack. That means I only need, 8 more units to complete that division? That's not very hard to do, considering if you look at, like, Kirby Smith, between his elite card and then a couple other units, I could get there really easily. And that takes the artillery out of out of his division. And I think, I need close to 17 artillery pieces to complete an artillery division. And I already have 12 here. So, anyways, that's the goal. We're going to try and accomplish that as best we can. To give you an overall disposition of my forces, down in Charleston, we have about half a division. I need to fill him out. I have in Atlanta area him, which I need to fill him out. I have in New Orleans, kind of getting there. I have almost a full division there, and then close to a full division there. But I'm going to fill these 2 guys out, and those will be full divisions down in New Orleans, led by Hoke, which is a 4-2-2, with 2 defense and 2 defense. Up in Memphis, I have a division that's almost here. I'm basically going to refit him and probably send him up so that I have 3 divisions in each of these guys. Actually, I have 2 each, huh? So I haven't decided what I'm going to do there yet. I might hold back because I don't know if he can see what I have in Memphis yet. But I do have a division coming this way. I'm going to put him with Richard Taylor, which, as you can see, he's just training up troops right now. And then I'm going to take these guys out. And once that division gets here and get everything kind of nice and fitted. Again, the reason I have him in here is that he does provide this siege bonus to defense. But he outranks... He outranks Taylor, and so if I pull him out, Taylor's not going to be training up troops any longer, so that's why he's in there. And then I have this cavalry unit under Wadey, kind of just trying to wait for the situation to develop to decide whether I want to send him east, west, north, or south. We shall see. In the far west, I just have 1 division holding my far left flank, but it's mainly because of the weather over here. I don't anticipate an attack anytime soon. Again, Paducah, 2 divisions each, so 4 divisions total, which I think matches up with his. He's got 3 divisions right now, and then I don't know what he has up here. But at least until the spring, I'm kind of anticipating him not attacking, so we'll see. But over here, he's got a lot. So he's got 4 divisions plus another corps, so he's got a lot of guys there. What I have is 2 divisions in the rear, and then I have 3 divisions in front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this division forward because I'm going to swap out my generals. Because under Shelby, he's got a 5 defense. And under Gardner, he's got a 5 defense. And so I'm going to put them on my front and then move probably... So the Union issued war bonds, and he raised taxes, so he's really going to... I think he's going all in for the summer. I think this summer is going to be pretty brutal, to be honest with you. I'm surprised he raised taxes, though, because that lowers his morale. So that's why I'm anticipating some pretty heavy fighting come the summer. Which perhaps may even start next turn. Who knows? He put some sailors over in California. Requisitioning food, horses, and tools. Interesting. He really is going all in. I may have to do this as well, because I mean I burned through a lot of money this last turn. Although I gotta look at my conscripts, because you see my conscripts are only 8, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to get more money if I'm gonna burn through more conscripts. And then finally, let me just give you the last overview here. I put some more money into line infantry. I originally had one in my elite, but I had to cancel that to build that North Carolina unit I showed you. One in cavalry. Another one in artillery, and then one in supply. And then as you can see, here's what we're building. Almost all of this is this turn. I also built a those pontoon bridges, because I figure, you know what, there's a lot of rivers over here, and so at some point there may come a time where I need to attack across the river, and it'd probably be a good idea if I at least had one of my corps equipped for that purpose. So I'm going to do that, and then I may even build a sailor next turn as well, just so that I have a corps that's equipped for river crossing attacks. That'd be a nice tool to have in my toolbox. One final thing before I conclude this video here is I'm going to have stewards attack these cavalry guys, because they're annoying me. They're kind of just hanging out here, and even though I have big old stacks here, they're not being attacked because they're small and they're on green. So I'm going to attack each one of them, hopefully, and get rid of them. So we'll see if that happens too. All right, with that, I will be back.